Hi everyone, it's Adrian Leah. This is going to be another channeled reading. So I am flowing through the energies and the different signs, days and months. The sign right now is for Aries. So welcome Aries, welcome if you are another sign, and welcome if you have Aries in another part of your chart. For these videos, I have channeled messages and in the beginning, and then I'll pull out cards, but the whole video is the reading or the message. And as you can see, I have a different background. I'm in the process of moving overseas, so it'll be like this type of thing. So hopefully it's not um, it's okay. So in the beginning, for these messages, it's a story, and you could take the messages how they feel right to you, and maybe you just want to enjoy a story time as I relay some things that I have taken while I was traveling. So it starts off in the vision of the lighthouse near the water, and it has been in a illuminated state for a little bit after the moments where I was in the bear's mind, and then the bear was being brought under as the angels were appearing and gathering around where he lay. So I left that area and went back to the shoreline, and I felt like I needed to be there. I would walk on these stones that were on the water, and as I said, it was expanding as if the mind's visions or um, were growing more as if it was building itself. So I see the lighthouse there, and I turn more, and then there's the angel of death there who gives the message and says that it's not finished yet because you may have expelled it, this um, expelled it from the bear, that you didn't bring it back to where it came from. So I was like, oh, so you want me to find this thing and bring it, or to send it to where it came from? And then the angel of death said, you don't have to look very far, it's already there. Because I was in the mind, I heard the taps as if it wanted to be let back, and it wanted to find another host. But the thing about it was that it was weakened because it didn't have a host. So there was the encounter, and I felt that it had to go in the water because the mind works in a lot of different ways, and it is a powerful tool, and you can see things and really think about things maybe in a visual way, an intellectual way, something that may be more straightforward or something that's more abstract, but somehow it makes sense. So you bring that being into the water and bring it deeper and deeper and deeper into the depths, because the core of this earth is fire, and it's bringing it back to where it came from, in the depths of those fires. And not saying that fire itself is evil. You could take it for what it is, but just again, as how your mind thinks, that's where it goes. And so I was going down too, because that's where I was bringing it. And I look up because I was in the depths of the water. And as a human, you don't really breathe, you don't really survive in those conditions. And I turned, and the being was just smiling at me, because it was like, oh, well, I guess you're down here too now, right? And I was thinking, I look up because I still see the light that's illuminating from the water, or from the um, the sky, and still being down. So as the Fae, I was thinking, well, I'll just get my selkie coat, and I'll put my selkie coat on, and I'll turn to a seal, because that's how I'll breathe, and that's how I'll swim, and that's how I'll survive. So after pushing and pushing and pushing, the being further and further down, I did ask. I asked for more light, and then it brought it down to the door. And as I go up and up, you can hear as if it's like banging and banging, banging, like it doesn't want to be there. It's stuck there now. The door closed, and after that, just looking up, or even opening my eyes, I see that I'm in the desert, because I came back up. I put the being where it came from, where the bear is now too, um, and destined to be, where this was where the last encounter was, before the angels surrounded where the bear lay. And as I prayed one more time for the guardian, with the guardian angel prayer, because it looked like the angels were being called on once more. It was blinding light, and all you can hear was the bear screaming at the top of his lungs as I left the mind. And then his mind was blocked by an ascended master. So, as I said, back in the desert, back where the last encounter was, and I see these other beings that have fallen because of the bear, that witnessed him go under. So now we're in the desert, and now I'm thinking, how will I lead them out of here? And I said another prayer, and I wasn't expecting it, because, again, I have said this before, I'm okay with religion. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily super religious in that regard, not like I have anything against it, but I do look at it in different ways. And there's that academic level that goes with it. So I did have a vision when I did the prayer, and it was this giant kingdom that just illuminated itself. It was gold. And I was like, now I know what this is. And again, you can take this story for however you take it for. Maybe in a literal sense, maybe in a more abstract sense. But I'm sure there's a lesson or something that you can get out of this. Um, the grandfather figure that I encountered a couple times first met at this church where someone from the guild was meeting up with they were meeting up with me to give me a spinning wheel. And this church, the saint is the patron saint of Ukraine, Russia, Scotland, and Romania. That's where the grandfather figure um, saw me, or I saw him, and there was a familiarity. And I don't bring spirits with me like that. But he comes and goes, and he's like, "Oh, you made it," and I just say, and I look around, I'm like, oh, "Nice place." The main things was this was before making the last video of the daily message, and he was saying, um, remember what you have forgotten, along those lines. And I've been getting that. And it was interesting because I I have a lot of things that, again, thoughts and visions that really come and go, and I wouldn't say it disrespectfully, but there's a lot that comes through. So I try to make the videos at least every other day if I can, and I try to be consistent with it and then every other day I usually get more of the visions so I can put it in a video. And so that's what the Remembrance of the Prison Cell reading is about. Remembering that because I did have that vision a couple of videos ago. And I feel like there's a little more because I would see some things and then they weren't fully expanded yet, like the vision of the shoreline with the lighthouse. Um, there's also a couple more things. Sorry, before I get into the reading, with the ghosts, like the bear's ghosts, plural. And one specific thing that I was getting was that when there was movement with one specific ghost, the ghost of the bear, it was like as if it was like zigzags, like an antelope when it's trying to get away from a predator, it would zigzag. So I don't know if this is a familiar game outside of America, but there's this game like Manhunt, and hopefully it's the right name because I mean that's how I referred to it when I was younger. But it's like tag, only there's like a little bit more to it than just tag. So you're tagging, well, the person that's it tags people. But with Manhunt, you have like a base or you have like a safe spot where you could go, so that the person that's it won't be able to get to you. So the main thing was like one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. as if this ghost, one of them, wasn't at the base, wasn't at the safe spot, and so it would like zigzag, and it kind of this like off the beaten path away from that area. And then one last thing to channel is there is a spirit, and the spirit would take guidance from the videos too, who passed from the war and doesn't really speak too much English, but who understood when I said to protect him, and he nodded. So those were the channeled portion. It was the channeled portion of the video, and now I'll start drawing some cards. As you can see, I'm not sitting like directly on the floor. I have stuff like down like on the um, floor so I don't have to touch it, but I don't know if that's TMI. And then I have a tray that I've had since my apartment. And again, to say about um, the encounter where I was bringing it down under and to back to its source. Um, since it was a desert, it's like all that banging on the door that's on the ground, and even like some fire coming out of it too. It grazes, it's grazed over by sand. I don't know what's it about, but the bear smells different these days. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but it's not like you trust the character. I'll also read from the Goddess Love Oracle booklet too. For some reason, this is coming up too because um, the last hotel that I was at, there was this car that was in front of me as I was driving to work, and I've never really had this reaction before, but I was like, you need to get your car checked because your your car is like really messing up the air quality in my car, and I changed like the air settings. Um, I'm not usually like that because the it would come and go, when you drive. It's not something that lasts. I mean, I was behind the car for a little bit, but even that little bit, I was like, I changed lanes too. That's how like not into it I was. And I think it really does have to do with like, um, I feel that once that barrier was taken out for the bear, it's almost changing the energy or persona. I say almost. And there's a lot that was done, too much that was done. And this is gonna be super TMI. I don't know. But I mean, it's not TMI for me, but it was like, um, one scene where it was like someone saying, wait, so you don't stomp your shit down the drain? Like, so you don't take a shit in your shower and then stomp it down the drain. And then there's like a group of people, and then one person was just like, oh, like they were gonna throw up. And then the other person's just like, no, do you? And then the other person that was like mentioning it was like, oh, no, 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 no. I was just wondering. I don't do it myself. And even that, it's like with signaling of the Six of Cups because there's the rooftop with the smoke coming out of the chimney. It kind of reminds me of like when like they're calling, well, they're deciding who the next pope is going to be, and they signal it with like smoke. And then in the King of Cups, the King of the Sea, there's the lighthouse in here. There's something, well, with the cups, it's associated with water and the depth and knowing things. Six of Cups, already being in the cup suit, and then the King of Cups being an archetype of the cup suit. There is like a sense of how are we going to go about this energy with the Ace of Pentacles with that. Because it feels like once you get those results, then that's how you determine how to move forward from there. And that's kind of how it felt with the energy of the bear. Because with the other deck, this was the Universal Folk Tarot, this is the Theater Dolls Tarot, you have the Five of Cups here. And you can see that the figure is catching the other figure. And I don't know if this is like a saying like in other countries, but one of, I guess, like slang would be like you're tripping. Like, um, in this sense, it's like, no, 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 you didn't see it like that, or it's not what you think, or something along the lines of, you may have seen that, but you're kind of thinking about it the wrong way. I'm not who you think I am, even though all those actions, all those memories, all those things that have, um, even the evidence that has been provided, and you don't have to count my videos as like evidence because, it wouldn't hold in court or anything. And again, you could just think of me as a storyteller. But, like, I don't know. You hear or see evidence in other places. And even that, with the Five of Cups, it kind of feels like they're trying to say, like, trying to erase that, like, it never happened like that. And even so, because, as I said, like, the smell was different. And I say that, and I know it might sound strange, but as, like, with animals and even humans too, when, like, in the animal kingdom, I guess, when a predator or another animal smells not how you, not like in a good way to you, and it's like the natural scent, then it's not a good thing. Like, there's something that's not right about it. And, like, it's one of your instinctual things. Um, and even humans too. Some do that. I know that, like, sometimes, like, the natural scent, I'm just like, I can't be um associated with this person. There's just something that's off about them. I'm not even gonna try talking to them. Because you have the Eight of Wands here too, and it kind of looks like it's a trap because it's it's one of those things where, um trying to reel you in, like, that it looks like one of those when you're at an airport and there's signaling where the plane should land or go, or to prepare the plane. It does feel like one of those things where it's trying to lure you in as if it's not as bad as you think it is. but it has like the Ten of Cups. I'm sorry. It's associated with the cups, as they say, cups. Um, but there's the Ten of Swords. And this Ten of Swords, you can see that there's needles everywhere because it's associated with the needles in here with the swords. Um, One of those maybe relationships, to say the very least, that you were in it for a while, a lot longer than what may have been okay to be in it, because at that point it was just like bringing you down to some degree. But then the second that the person does something nice for you, it's like your mind saying, okay, I'll let you love bomb me again. And because you're being nice to me or doing this, that, and the third, I'm going to let you gaslight me for the next 2 months because maybe there's still hope, maybe there's potential for this thing. And with the Page of Pentacles, that was underneath it. And the Page of Pentacles is one that is a studious page because there's the Page, Knight, Queen, and King in the Minor Arcana court cards. The page, if you want to think about it as like age, it doesn't need to be age, it could also be experience too. Um, there is a little naive energy in wanting to look more into this and look further into it. I would be careful with the energies that you keep around you and the people that you trust. And if you do have trustworthy energies around you, to I'm getting to be more reserved or silent as a church mouse. Because I have mentioned that before, and the spirit that has passed from this was also like that too. It might be some people talking on maybe another person's behalf or listening, and based off what was said or communicated with the Page of Swords, it really affects the Ten of Cups. And I'm getting likelihood. Because it kind of reminds me of like, when you're signing up for something or you talk to people, um, say working with a company and making sure that you're investing in them for the right reasons and putting your money towards them for the right reasons. So, I mean, even today, it is difficult to see whether or not a company is going to be for you. And even when they do help you, it's like, it's almost like they're taking an arm and a leg for their services. I mean, it really depends on what your comfort zone is on that. But I'm getting some might just be in it for their own sake, while others will be in it for the cause of it. Then others, because I'm getting the mother star here too. And the tiger is one of the prominent symbols and animals in this deck. It's the Wandering Star Tarot. And then there's the creator here too. So there's a yes and no card in here. And I actually pulled out the yes and no card at once. So there could be a balance of that, of wanting to help, but also there is something like personal touches with it too. There are a couple young energies in this. I say young or a little naive with the Page of Swords and the Page of Pentacles, and then you have the Fool card here too. Again, however it's associated with you or however it fits with those energies, some of it might be guns blazing and some of it might be learning as you go, because you also have for the future the Queen of Pentacles. It might have been energy that develops over time, because in the beginning there could have been the sense of um, the Queen of Coins could be associated with motherhood too, in some regard. And like in the beginning stages of being a mother, even when people give you as much advice as they can, it is more on an individual basis. I might have to move a little bit because my foot's falling asleep. And going back to the creator card and the mother star card, and it does feel like a duality or a balance of those things, and even associated with scales, it could be that because I say scales, it could be associated with the Libra energy. It could also be associated with more of like a government type of energy. It could be both. And since it's an Aries reading, Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, so there is also um, those spectrums too. But with the creator card, it is a sense of when you create something, you create it. And even, again, there's more Christians that watch these videos, like the story of creation. He created it and it was good. There is a sense of love that comes out of it when you create something. And on the other hand, with the mother star, um, there's the tiger here, as I mentioned, and tigers tend to have more vengeful energies to them, and if going for the kill, if you will. And how things change you, because this tiger has butterfly wings, and as we know, that's it's there's different phases of transformation when it comes to a butterfly, and it's gradual. Same with like a frog going through transformation too. And even butterflies associated with air, it could be associated with things that you learn along the way, and it might affect the way that you do things, the way that we perceive the world, the way that we perceive people. And I really do feel like the Queen of Coins has gone through a lot of those transformations to a point where maybe she doesn't have one kid. Now she has like three kids, four kids, and is wondering how to handle it all in the beginning, but now it seems to come more with ease, of course. There's still difficulties that come with it, but for a lot of the journey, it is a learning curve that you get. And even with the coral, coral is associated with water too in Native American, um, in general, Native American symbolism. Coral, um, mother, and the blood. And it just came up recently too because I am going to have a jewelry piece be modified to a point where I can actually wear it because I um, have a jewelry piece that's also coral that was given to me by my grandmother. And the note was saying that the bracelet itself isn't real gold or anything. It's not like I was looking for that, and I don't really wear gold anyway. Um, Unless like it's a different color other than gold. Um, but it would be more of like a something that would irritate my skin. But the note also said that the coral is real on there. And so someone offered to take the jewelry piece, and I said just dismantle it. You could do whatever you want with like the bracelet itself, but I wanted to keep the beads and then make it so that I could wear it. So it could be some type of wisdom that you gain over time or through experience. Sometimes experience comes quickly with people. Even with the Tower card, too, it's like you have to think on your feet because when everything comes crashing down, how are you going to come out of it? Because if you're still alive, living your obviously living your life, how do we move forward from those repercussions, especially when they weren't from you? And from the past, going to the Six of Cups, there's the Three of Cups, and it has Coven here. And back to what I was saying with the ghost, just to say that this one of the ghosts specifically um, isn't really a fighter, and it makes you curious about it because if they were specifically for this job, what can they do? What other things make it so they do this job? So with covens, sometimes it could be multiple people, sometimes it could be one person. With the Six of Cups, there is that sense of trust that you have to have with it too. Because if you're associated with a coven, um, you would only want to have somebody there that you know what they do, how they do it, and when they're in your space, when they're not in their space, how are they? And with the eyes closed here, and even with the two beings on this card, it does seem like there's a sense of trust, and even um, because they seem like they could be family, there is almost this like a oneness to them, as if it's a confiding energy, that there's a comfortable energy towards in it too. And the cat is just in the background. I have said this before, but with cats, I do like them. I've had many over the years. A lot of them were strays or older animals. I like taking older animals in, mainly because I am not like a super active person myself, so I like the company though. And I feel with cats it's nice because you can tell, like, if they're comfortable with you, if they like you. Of course, with a lot of animals, they portray that too. With cats, there's more of like, there's a lot of clarity with it too. Like, when they hate you, like, you know when they fucking hate you. And I love that about them. So, with the cat there, just relaxing, there must be some reason why the guard is being let down. And that card that came from Miss Love Oracle is shelter, you are cherished. And the rabbits in the sky, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like dreaming about the rabbits, even though the foxes are there. I'm not trying to make associations in that way, but um, a couple of times, especially like there were two times specifically um, where I met the energy on the battlefield, and there was like a big smile there. With the present, it's the devil card. It's interesting because one specific reading before it, and even almost right after I did a reading, it was like I was getting in the whisper. It was saying, "Do something, witch," as if um, wanting me to help them in some way. I mean, I'm not taking titles like that. You could take it for what it is. Like I said before, I've been called names A through Z, and none of these names involved me being called a child of God. So I don't take it too literally, but there just seems to be an energy of needing to have that type of freedom that the devil card doesn't allow you to have at this time. And I feel like with this card, it's with the Queen of Wands, also associated with the Queen of Coins. it feels like because there's sunflowers all over the card, and with the wands suit in this deck, it's all sunflowers. And it's like the card is saying all we ask for is a little bit of sunshine, as if needing that illumination, needing that breakthrough of that energy. Um, the obstacle would be the Three of Coins, the Three of Pentacles, and it's wood carving, and it does seem like a tedious process. But there's concentration and focus. Um, Even with the ladle here, I know it doesn't have to do with the wood carving, but it's like if you're um, making like a stew or something and you're checking the stew to make sure it tastes good. Sometimes maybe you won't, but if you've made it so many times, but that's part of the fun of doing it. And even the feathers in the hat. Um, the feathers could be associated with divine messages if you see the feathers, or whatever insight that you're getting, what you're listening to. Feathers is also associated with air. That can associate with swords in a lot of decks. Sometimes decks and wand or decks with the swords and wands are switched because it's the argument of, well, the sword cuts through the air, like um, it would be with the thoughts and communication. And then the swords are also forged in fire, so our swords associated with fire, with creation and maybe passion and drive. The way that we build things like the creator. So there is the duality of those things, and even the mother star with the dreaming and the stars in the nighttime, and the creator um, making and growing. Something else seems to be created at this time, or is being created at this time, with Three of Coins, Three of Pentacles, and the Creator card. Because the wheel in the back, for some reason, it feels like it's turning, as if it's like what's being created next, and then this is like a process. And there's something about it that's been happening lately too, with the Seven of Swords being the opportunist. Like knowing when the right time is and then really going for it. But it comes at the right time, and when you know, you know. But at this point, it's kind of over your head. Like a tent in the card, and something that's covered. Um, because it's also with the High Priestess with the obstacle card. Even though it is an obstacle, and the pages are blank, it's like you're building as you're thinking and you're building, but it's coming as you go. It's not a whole set plan. It's one of those things where sometimes you just gotta trust the process, and then it's gonna happen like this. And then the tool belt stands out to me too. There seems to be a little bit of an unfamiliarity, and then as you go further in, is like as I go further into the readings and the visions become clearer and more that I understand. Um, it looks like tools in the belt that you haven't really used and you're not familiar with them, but you'll find out once you start using them. Kind of, I guess I know it's not like the best thing. Sometimes look when I'm driving and I'm like, oh, what does this button do? And I'm like, Adrian, like you can't just keep like pressing buttons that you don't know what they do when you're driving. I just get curious, but not to that extent for this reading. I mean, it could be to that extent for this reading, since the Tower card was there and making your way out of that um, surprise ending a new beginning. You have how to overcome the obstacle, which is an interesting one, is the Eight of Swords. And the Eight of Swords, it is one of those things where you're trusting the process of it too, because being all tied up and having those swords around you and a blindfold, but still having like the clarity with the antlers. I don't know, that whole sentence was kind of that's what she said, but um it just seems that you're really taking the messages as they come along, and it's up to you whether or not you'll go by them, whether you'll feel that there's a lesson within that story, or whether you'll take it literally or um, in the day to day experience. What information do you come across, and how are you using it? And it seems like the messages that you're getting, you're really running with it because you have the magician. It's a pretty solid card with it too. The magician being associated, well, it's in the major arcana. So these little hints and clues, it's something that you're running with. And something keeps coming up. Um, some part of it too, it kind of alleviates and in a way it kind of heals some aspects of what happens during these times of turmoil, during these war times. So in the past, it's the Ace of Cups with the Two of Coins. With this energy, it kind of felt like you loved to love with the Ace of Cups, and it was really overflowing with that energy. But it also came to the point where it was like walking that, what is it, like um, the plank or walking that path where the plank might have been not the best example, but um, it got to a point where it was so difficult to move forward in that direction that felt like the Ace of Cups because there was so many other things going on. But at some point in the future, I would say in the further future with the Queen of Wands and Queen of Pentacles, once the experiences bring you, um, I guess, more clarity, different ways of seeing and doing things. I wouldn't say it wouldn't be like it's nothing because it's always something, but not like there's always a problem. But what I'm trying to say is that it just feels good to move forward from it with more information and tools in your arsenal and knowing what to do when this happens or that happens. It would just feel good to be in a better place. So I'll pull a couple more cards out and then I'll read from the book. And it's interesting. It wasn't intentional to have that vision, but I did find a book. Um, and it was about the book of Enoch. And um, with Enoch being a human alive to go up to the heavens. There's another interesting thing that the grandfather energy was saying, because it reminded me of it too with the rewards word that comes up on this world card. So the grandfather figure was asking, "Are you wondering what rewards you're going to get?" And I was like, not particularly. I know I do pretty well with my karma in general because I try not to be a dick. Um, I mean, I do sometimes have my kill streaks, but I would say even in those moments, I want to knowing that, come out of those moments knowing that that I could live with the things that I did. Because if I didn't try and if I didn't do this or I didn't do that, if I just have to try. And I feel like I wouldn't want to imagine what would happen if I didn't try. So I suppose that's the answer to what he was saying to me. And even with the World card and the Ace of Swords making that decision. Because it's finishing what you started and committing to it and staying consistent with it. And you have the Strength card with it too. And with that, it does come with the confidence of doing these things. That if there's a part of me or it, if it relates to you that feels right to do it, and those moments where I ask for light and I get light, and there must be a reason. There must be a reason for these things. And then with the Emperor, the Emperor card has, even though it has, even though this is the Emperor card, the word that's on here is law and order. That's like a show, but usually you would see that maybe on like the Justice card. But I could see it being here too. That it feels right and it feels like there is a sense of duty and sense of responsibility with it. Emperor also being associated with the sign of Aries too. And to go to no person has gone before, with it being associated with goats and having the skill of climbing to those places and even going to the depths of areas where people wouldn't imagine going. So, and then this card, Eight of Swords, the Martyr. And the Eight of Swords comes up again. So taking this information and really running with it. Um, there's almost like an armor of integrity with it. And then I'll leave it at the Lovers. This is a little different than with the other Lovers. Well, the Lovers card that came out in other readings before, but um, it it does feel like there is clarity within oneself because it's also associated with Gemini, and Gemini can be one person. Um, Almost like having your head on right and doing these things that feel like they're meant to be done. And the Four of Coins, the sense of richness that comes out of it. That would be part of the reward for yourself. So I'll read from the book. I'm sorry, it's another long video. Sorry, 1 second. And with shelter, Winter Mother is here to tell you that you are seen, heard, loved, and cherished. She holds you safe even in the darkest times and wraps her arms around you. She wants you to know how much you are loved, always and unconditionally. When times are tough, look, listen, and feel for your Divine Mother. Sometimes she may be still and quiet, asking you to find peace within yourself. At other times, she may stir and crash as a violent storm, teaching you to plant your feet firmly and hold on tight. In this way, she may be testing your faith that she will always shelter you. And like her winds and rains, so too your dark clouds will pass. In the depths of winter, all the trees' limbs are barren and bare. Still their roots hold firm deep in the earth, connected to one another under the frozen surface. There is a comfort and strength in connecting with others. Goddess asks you to reach out to your soul sisters and brothers for support and kinship. She may guide you to find kindred spirits and send her sacred creatures to lead your way. Winter Mother says, I will hold you through your darkness and charge you with my love so that you will emerge from my shelter restored, bright and radiant. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in another video.